Earlier this year, 3 district councils in affluent rural Middle England were eagerly expecting the results of a public inquiry into their latest planning document covering development for the next 20 years. They'd done all their maths, worked out what they thought would be an acceptable level of development, and submitted it to the planning inspector appointed by the government. He had held his public inquiry, and they doubtless expected the odd change to be required here and there, because that's what always happens. Instead, he threw the whole thing back at them and said 23,000 or so new homes in the plan period was not enough, and they need to add a lot more, maybe up to 9,000 more. South Worcestershire, for this is where the story took place, was thrown into some consternation because they'd been trying to protect their environment from just this sort of thing. The council leader described it as one civil servant riding roughshod over 100 councillors. Why do I recount this little story? Because the inspector concerned was Mr. Roger Clues, and he will be coming to Suffolk in February to examine St Edmundsbury Borough Council's Vision 2031 planning document. He will even be coming to Haverhill for 3 days of the inquiry, 1 at Days Inn and 2 at the Leisure Centre, which will be something of a contrast to the impressive new Apex in Bury St Edmunds in which he will be holding the rest of his examination. Will he see anything rather familiar about St Edmundsbury's vision? A rural area, largely run by rural councillors for the benefit of rural residents and their comfortable market town. Might he then not let his eyes stray a little to the left on the map and perceive a great big blob called Cambridge, one of the most powerful economic drivers in the country, and wonder why it has been almost airbrushed out of the plan he is required to inspect? Might he not think that St Edmundsbury, and Haverhill in particular, is in a prime position to take advantage of this proximity? He might, for instance, consider the massive expansion of Addenbrooke's Hospital over the next few years, and ask where its employees currently live, and where its new ones might be expected to find housing they can afford. In fact, he might look at the whole massive Cambridge planning dilemma and wonder if there might not be a small spin-off in the southeasterly direction, which could, perhaps, at least be mentioned in the plan he is examining as a possibility to be allowed for. He might recall a recent memo from his superiors to the effect that East Anglia will have to take a lot more housing than has been contemplated up until now. He might then, of course, look around him and say, no, West Suffolk is far too beautiful a place to spoil with a load more new housing than they want, and Haverhill is a nice, quiet, out-of-the-way town, trundling along quite happily in the wake of dear old Georgie and Bury St Edmunds. No, I can't bring myself to change any of this. They seem to me to have got the balance about right, and he might sign it off then and there. What do you think the butcher of South Worcestershire might do?